Hi, I'm Tim Quilty, Liberal Democrats member for Northern Victoria in the Victorian Upper House. This week marks the 2-year anniversary of our ongoing state of emergency in Victoria. For those of you who follow the Victorian Liberal Democrats, you may have seen David and me asking people to share their experiences and stories of living under a state of excess. Excessive rules, excessive force, excessive punishment. I don't think any of us imagined at the start of this pandemic that this would still be going 2 years later. When the state of emergency was declared, we assumed it would be no different to responding to a fire or flood, and that it would be short-lived. In any case, legislation capped the duration of the state of emergency to a maximum of 6 months. Prior to 2020, even I was naive enough to think that emergencies were short-term events. It was not until the first extension to the state of emergency powers passed that I realised that this was going to be a long and difficult battle to claw back basic human rights and freedoms for the citizens of Victoria. The state of emergency powers were meant to be used proportionately, and they have not been, are not being used that way. We're all in this together was one of the greatest lies from the Andrews government this term. We were never in this together. The new laptop class elite got to work comfortably from home, while those whose jobs need to be done in person suffered through endless restrictions and barriers. Almost all the measures that the Andrews government pulled out of a hat in 2020 were done only to create the illusion that this government was doing something, which is why we're never allowed to see the evidence for any of the restrictions. Taxpayer money spent on COVID theatre to make Melbourne voters think that something was being done. The ring of steel, the border closures and the border queues, lockdowns, curfews, playgrounds closed, only 4 reasons to leave your house, 5-kilometre radius, 1 hour's exercise, everywhere you went, papers please. Businesses repeatedly closed with only a few hours notice, ridiculous restrictions on hospitality. Many of you on the anniversary shared your stories and experiences from this state of excess. Some of you shared photos and videos as well. Scenes of people on the border waiting an hour-long queue to get to work or drop their children at school. People being harassed and arrested by police while exercising their democratic rights to protest. I was even reminded of the young mother from Ballarat who was arrested at home in front of her children for daring to organise a protest on Facebook. So much of this was from 2020, when we were forcibly thrust towards this new normal. It set the precedent for stripping away basic rights and freedoms and laid the foundations for the general populace to cast out the unvaccinated, the other, that we got to experience in 2021. We know who they are. They are our family, our friends and neighbours, who made a decision about their own bodies and medical treatment, and were then deemed non-compliant, second class, by the government and society at large. The government turned people into scapegoats and cast them out of society with little regard for their welfare. 2021 saw mandates. It saw police open fire on protesters. It saw pepper spray and potentially lethal ammunition used, and members of the public slammed to the ground, slammed on their heads. It saw families locked out of public spaces. It saw people lose work. We saw people lose everything. Thankfully, 2 years of a state of emergency has made the problem clear. More people are embracing liberty, even those who were not politically engaged previously. The Lib Dems are running candidates across Victoria at the state and federal elections, and our own David Limbrick will be the Lib Dems lead Senate candidate for Victoria in the federal election. If we work together, we can bring back liberty to Victoria at these upcoming elections.